and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago viewers. Now we are being joined online by Chief Embassy Visa, the Chief Frank Lavoie from the U.S. Embassy, and he's here to talk about some of the outreach that the U.S. Embassy is going to be doing in Tobago. So a special good morning and welcome to you, and I hope I got your name right, Chief Frank Lavoie. Is that correct?
Yes, Frank Lavoie, you pronounced correctly. I'm the visa chief here at the embassy in Port of Spain.
All right, great. So you guys are going to be in Tobago very soon. So tell me a little bit about what is the plan and, how the public can get involved.
Sure, we're very excited. This will be the third time that the Consular section has visited Tobago this year alone. It's a new program that we started up last year. We're excited to get out and meet people in Tobago and help them. So we have two things planned for you. One will be for American citizens. We're going to have by appointment on the 29th, Tuesday. American citizens can make appointments, come visit our officers, and they can renew their passports, report a birth of a child, or do a notary, or any other services that we normally do. It is by appointment, and they would have to send an email to us at acspos@state.gov so that they can make an appointment and come meet us on the 29th. But we're not just there to help American citizens. No, we're there to have outreach for all the people on Tobago. So we're going to have a visa session, an information session anyways, on Wednesday the 30th. And that's going to take place between 9 to 10 a.m. And it is required to send an email to reserve a space there as well because there's limited space. And that one is Consular, POS@state.gov. And we're excited to help both Americans and have people in Tobago have the chance to ask a consular officer all about visas, whatever questions they have. We will not be doing visas, of course. It's just information, but we're excited. And we have other things we'd like to talk about as well.
And where would this be taking place?
Sure, it'll be over at the Division of Health and Welfare and Social Protection. They've set a room aside for us over there at 5 Montessori Drive in Glen Road in Scarborough. But again, your name will have to be on a list by appointment or for the visa appointment. So don't just show up. We do want everyone to be on the list, and whoever's on the list will be allowed in for their timed appointment for ACS on Tuesday or for the 9 o'clock session on Wednesday for the visa.
And can you give us an idea of some of the things, some of the issues, or some of the concerns you will be treating with when you meet with either Tobagonians or Americans? I know you shared some of the passports and things like that for Americans, but in terms for the Tobagonians, like what services will you be offering during that time?
Well, during the visa session, it's pretty much for each individual to come on out and ask questions about, how do I apply for a visa? What's the process? What's the cost? What can we do? And we'll also highlight some things. For example, if we have quiet hours now for afternoon appointments. So if someone has a disability, physical or mental, or any other reason why they need to be seen separately away from the crowd of 300 people coming in every morning, we're going to explain that we do that now. We also want to highlight the fact that the wait times in Trinidad and Tobago are amazing right now. For B1, B2 tourist visas, the interview, it's now down to 112 days, and it was well over 11 months just a while ago. So that's great, it's coming down. And if you're applying for a student visa, a work petition visa, or a crew member visa, you can get an appointment within 1 to 2 days, which is really great. And one more thing we want to highlight, because I think it's very important for the people of Tobago, is we also have the option for certain people who qualify to mail in your passport and not have to come over to Trinidad, Port of Spain, and have an appointment. And if you want, I can explain a little bit about that.
Oh, yes. Go ahead.
Great. So when you go ahead online and you set up your information, you'll be prompted to pay. And I also want to emphasize to help avoid scams is you should only be paying in person at Scotiabank. That's the only way to pay your visa fee. Don't pay online, don't pay a third party, only in person at Scotiabank. And while you're filling out the application online, it's going to ask you a series of about 10 questions. And you want to make sure you answer them accurately, honestly, and correctly. And if you qualify, you will then be told you can drop off your passport, your photo, and DS-160 form at DHL there in Scarborough. and it'll be sent by DHL to the embassy. We'll then process it and then return it back to the DHL there in Scarborough. So you just have to pick it up there. So you don't have to come physically to see us. And people who generally qualify are children under the age of 14, um, adults who are over the age of 79, and anyone else who is renewing their visa if it's expired within the last 4 years. And again, there are some exceptions to that. That's why you have to answer the questions correctly to make sure that you qualify.
And for those of the people that are just wanting to know what are those requirements that they need to have, how can they find out those requirements?
Well, as far as the mail-in, you have to go online, and during the process, it's going to prompt you that these questions, and you just answer them correctly. It's going to ask you if there's any annotation on your visa, when did it expire, all these other little questions, which you should have the old visa in front of you so that you can answer the question and make sure that you qualify for the mail-in, which will be great. Now, if you don't qualify for the mail-in, the good news is the wait time is down to 112 days. And some people say, well, what if I have an emergency? Which is very important as well. But we have the expedite process, and this is all done online again through the application process. So even if you have an emergency, you go ahead, book the earliest appointment you can get, which right now is about December 5th. But after you book the appointment, you can click an expedite button. And what that means is if you qualify, which basically is a death of a relative in the United States, or a sickness of the actual applicant themselves that needs immediate, attention, urgent, important business in America that is in the interest of the U.S., so not necessarily in your interest, but in the interest of the United States government. And the last one is any significant cultural, sports, journalist, economic, or political event or travel that's happening. We'd be very interested in expediting that along as well. And from Tobago, I can tell you there's a lot of cultural events that we
Yes.
go ahead and we get groups coming in, we get them early appointments, set aside special time for them so that they can go up just like in New York. A group went up to New York, you mentioned today in the news. We help get them visas so they can get up there. So we're very much interested in getting everybody who needs to be in the United States in the United States.
And is there any things that or concerns that people should be aware of whilst they're thinking about applying for the U.S. visa? What are some of those common things that people are not aware of that may prevent them from accessing a visa?
There are two questions. Let's start off with the actual process of getting the visa in the first, getting the appointment. So again, only go to U.S. government website. So we have the one that can answer all your questions about anything, American citizens policy or visa policy, which is travel.state.gov. That's a site that we even go to because there's so much great information on there. But our actual embassy website is tt.usembassy.gov. And so you want to go to these websites to connect to the application website. You don't want to just Google and figure it out because there are people out there. Some of them are scammers and some of them are just people who are trying to make a buck but will help you anyways. And go through the official sites, follow all the directions, pay only at Scotiabank in person. But I think the second part of your question was how do you get a visa once you have the appointment? And we have a section of the law, 214B, which pretty much implies that everyone applying for a visa is an intending immigrant and should be refused until they prove otherwise. So during the interview, you have to tell us why you're traveling, who you're going to see. We ask about your background, your work, other questions. We look at your application. If you have some documents, we usually don't look at them, but we might ask for certain documents. And we look at your overall situation and determine if you overcome immigrant intent and qualify for a visa. And the vast majority of people do qualify for a visa, and the Trinbagonians travel well. So it's really not an issue. But some people, for various reasons, for whatever part of the life they're in right now at this particular time, they don't qualify, but it's not permanent. They can reapply in the future. We give them a letter explaining the law. And if in the future they believe they overcome, they can reapply at that point.
Oh, that's great news to hear. And then finally, I just want you to reiterate, when and where this consultation is taking place and making sure people do understand how they can get connected with it.
Great. And I want to emphasize it's all by appointment, so make sure you send us the email, which I'll repeat one more time. But on Tuesday the 29th, there in Tobago, we're going to do American Citizen Services. Again, passports, reports of birth abroad, notaries, and a few other services. on Tuesday the 29th, and you want to email acspos@state.gov. And for the visa session, which is on Wednesday the 30th from 9 to 10 a.m., please email Consular, POS, at state.gov. And it's CONSULAR, Consular, POS, at state.gov.
And for those who may not be able to make it for this time around, would there be another time that you guys will be back in Tobago?
Yes, yes, we're planning to do this regularly. Like I said, this will be the third trip this year. So I believe we have one more trip lined up potentially in November. So four, one a quarter this year. And in the coming years, we will continue to visit as well. Maybe not quite as frequently, maybe so, but we will continue to visit because we think it's important to reach the people in Tobago. They're in Tobago. They shouldn't have to come here just to get some basic information and do some services. So we're trying to do outreach so that everyone in Trinidad and Tobago has equal opportunity.
All right, I want to thank you so much for being on with us and for sharing that information. And
Thank you.
viewers, if you are interested, if you are in the process, there you have all the info, get connected so that you can be in the know and you can have your business sorted. So thank you again, Mr. Frank, for being on, Chief Frank, for being on with us, and have a wonderful day. But viewers, please don't go anywhere because we have a lot coming up for you after the break.